Hey, this is Victor Antonio, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Sales, where you and I just talk about sales, straight conversation, no hyperbole, just you and I having a frank discussion. What's on my mind this episode is, do you get a lot of notifications for connections on LinkedIn? Do you use LinkedIn? I use LinkedIn, and I get a lot of people who want to connect with me, which I like because that basically says, okay, you're important. People want to connect with you. People want to know you. And it's always a cool thing to connect with people, but it irritates me because I think there's some what I call LinkedIn Loonies. I think that's what I'm going to call it, LinkedIn Loonies. And these are people who just immediately, when they connect with you, they want something. Do you know what I'm talking about? As soon as they connect with you, they just simply want something. And I wrote down some of my favorite responses, or I guess messages that I get as soon as I connect. The first one I get is, hey, Victor, I want to know more about your business. Really? You want to know more about my business? In other words, they didn't even demonstrate that I actually went to the website and looked at what I do. They just said, I want to know more about your business. Now, a better approach would have been to actually look at my website, actually study my business, and then have maybe some pertinent questions. Not just tell me I want to know more about your business. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, go to the website. There's content all over LinkedIn. There's content on my website. You should know what my business is about. Again, a very, very revealing statement that they did not do any research at all, which means they're just trying to sell you something. The next one is, this is my favorite. One of my favorites. Want more clients? Question mark. Victor, do you want more clients? If so, let's talk. I'm like, well, first of all, who's going to say no to want more clients? But doesn't that sound just a little too salesy and a little too cheesy? Hit me up on a comment if you actually get these, because again, I get so many of these. Want clients? Of course. Want more business? Of course I do. But immediately, what do you feel is, somebody's trying to hook you into selling you something. So immediately, you want to delete or disconnect from that person, which I've done, by the way. The third one is, Victor, let's connect, see if there are any synergies between our businesses. Really? Let's connect to see if there are any synergies between our businesses. And then they usually invite me into a Zoom call, a conference call, video conference call, or maybe we can get together if they're in town for a cup of coffee. To which I go, no. In my mind, I don't say that, but I just said, no, I don't have time for that. But think about it. Let's connect to see if there are some synergies. Well, again, if you've researched my business, you pretty much know whether or not there are synergies. And if there are some synergies, why don't you go ahead and suggest that in the actual message? Know what I mean? Again, if number 3 is one that you get a lot, let me know. Number 4, we help companies like yours achieve fill in the blank. We help companies like yours fill in the blank. In other words, Victor, we work with companies like yours, and here's how we help increase their revenue, reduce their costs. We help companies like yours expand their market share. Want to get together? I mean, again, there's no sense that the person actually took any time to understand my business, understand what's going on. And my personal favorite, yes, I have a personal favorite. This one is, how can I help you? They connected. It's kind of a nice one, but it's kind of silly at the same time because they connect with me and then they say, Victor, how can I help you? Almost one of those Jerry Maguire things, right? Help me help you. So when somebody says in their message, Victor, how can I help you? My immediate question was, I don't know, because I don't know what you do. So that means now that you've asked me that question, how can I help you? Now I got to go research your company, figure out what you do, and then come back and figure out if I can use you or not. In other words, you're putting the work on me. Think about this question. This is the most fascinating question. How can I help you? What they're basically saying is, Victor, I need you to go do research on our company, and then you can come back and tell me how I can help you. Talk about lazy selling. So these are the ones I usually get. These are the top 5. If you get any that are interesting, man, I'd love to hear your comments below. But anyway, so I thought I'd put together this LinkedIn strategy for you, that if you really want to connect with people on LinkedIn, here's a strategy. First, I'll give you the macro strategy. I call it the 10 by 10 by 10 strategies. What I want you to do is when you're going to connect with somebody, let's say you connect with somebody, boom, step number 1, we're going to connect, right, with somebody. But now that you've connected with that person, and again, you can do this before or after you connect, the first thing you want to do is read their posts, read what they put online. And maybe I'll say the first 10, you got to hit 10 likes. In other words, you got to look at 10 pieces of content that they've posted on and really like their content. Now, don't just go hitting 10 likes. Don't do that. I mean, really find stuff that really resonates with you and then hit 10 likes. Now, I want you to find 10 things that they've posted that you want to share with other people because you find it important. Again, if you have a targeted market, you're going to want to share their content. So people notice when you like their stuff. So people do notice that. So you're trying to get some attention. People notice even more when you share what they've posted with your network. That says, hey, this person finds what I have to say valuable enough to share with their network. So again, don't just share or like for liking or sharing's sake, respectively. Do it because you honestly and earnestly like their content, or you find it so compelling that you want to share it with your network. Last but not least, 10 comments. And again, these are all distinct pieces of postings, right? In other words, don't just do 10 likes on one post and then do 10 comments and then do 10 shares. That doesn't count. I'm saying find 10 different posts that you like. Find 10 different things to actually share with other people that you like, genuinely, different than the first 10. And then find another 10 where you're going to comment on. And so you're just going to make comments. In other words, maybe insightful comments. Let's say they posted something. You're going to read, let's say, the article they wrote, and maybe make some comments about what you thought of the article and maybe even ask them a question. What you're trying to do is, first of all, through liking and sharing, you're trying to garner their attention. Say, hey, I'm really interested in you. Because remember, when you're interested in somebody, all of a sudden, that reciprocity kicks in, that reciprocation. They may take interest in you. But when you start commenting, well, now you're really investing your time. And that's what people really notice when you invest your time to read an article and then comment on it. But I mean comment not like, hey, great article. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, love this comment here. When you said that, that resonated with me. I don't know if I agree with this here, but here's how I would look at it. What do you think? In other words, try to create some form of engagement. So that's the 10 by 10 by 10. 10 likes, 10 shares, 10 comments. And then let's say that you do this for the first 30 days. Okay, assuming there's enough content on there to comment and share on. Let's say you do this for 30 days. And maybe after 30 days, you've pretty much earned the right to maybe send them a message. In this case, you want to be able to send a message. So let's say that you first implement phase 1, the 10 by 10 by 10 rule, right? Then step 1 you've already done. You've connected with them. That was step 1. I'm going to give you a 5-step plan here. So step 1, you've connected. After you've connected, you've gone with the 10 by 10 by 10 rule in 30 days, right? And if it's 40 days, 50 days, whatever it may be, you get to decide that. Step number 2, if you're engaging with them when you're commenting, this is the important piece. You have to really empathize with their business. In other words, really understand who this customer really is. So let me ask you a question. In your pipeline, on the people you're trying to connect with online, how many do you have in your, let's say, virtual pipeline? In other words, how many people do you want to connect with, really establish a relationship with, because they're your ideal client profile? If you know who they are, let's say you have 20 people in your pipeline. These are, let's say, I'll use, in my case, VP of sales, right? Love talking to VP of sales because they're more likely to hire me than not. So let's say I have 20 companies that I've targeted where I know what their revenues are, their sales force, how big they are, and the likelihood as far as alignment with their market that I can train them in. So I know who my 20 are. So for the next 30 days, I will engage in the 10 by 10 by 10 philosophy and really try to connect and establish some type of rapport. And when I comment, again, I'm going to comment, but I'm going to show some empathy, like I understand their business. I understand what they're talking about. In other words, I want them to get that I understand who they are, what they're trying to do. And if I can tie it back to their company, great. But notice, I'm not selling yet. I'm not selling. I'm just trying to connect. Step number 3. Then here's where you can begin to engage them a little bit. You know, when you're either sharing or commenting, again, sense the engagement. Are you getting any responses? Are they liking your comments? If you shared something, are they giving you some feedback? Again, all you're trying to do within the first 30 days is to create some type of engagement and empathy, I'll call it. Step number 4. Now, this is where you begin to shift a little bit. This is where, let's say, after 30 days, you can now begin to maybe send them information. Now, what type of information should you send? Let's say, let me back up here because I want to make sure I got this right with you. Let's say you're going to implement this 10 by 10 by 10 rule here. 10 likes, 10 shares, 10 comments, right? And you're going to do this within 30 days. You're not going to email or message them before those 30 days. Now, the first thing you're going to do is obviously connect with them. Second, You're going to demonstrate that you understand their business. You're going to empathize. And then, again, you're going to try to create some type of engagement through your comment. The next step is when we talk about the education phase, this is where you're going to start sharing what you do by sending them messages. I think if you've done it correctly, and you'll feel it. You'll feel if there's a connection or not. Maybe it's time now, because they know who you are, to begin to send them some messages. And so message one, let's say you're selling a CRM system, right? A customer relationship management system. And you don't know if they have one, if they're not using one, or if they are using one, who are they using? But nonetheless, you know that they have a sales force, for example. They're a targeted market, they have a sales force, and most likely than not, they're using a CRM. So what you want to do, and you're selling a CRM, what you want to do is begin giving them information, educating them, maybe information they don't have. For example, one message could be, and I just wrote this as a general message that you would want to send. I always like to send a headline. For example, I would say something like, hey, Bill, right? A CRM that increases usage and adoption, right? Well, if you just write that as a headline, a CRM that increases usage and adoption. And then what I like to do is give a piece of data and insight. And I'll put something like this. Only 30% of salespeople actually use a CRM. Here's how you can change that. And then I either share a piece of insight that my company has, because I'm selling the CRMs, on how to get their sales force to actually use the CRM they're currently using. Now notice, I'm trying to sell them a CRM, but I'm also taking the time to educate and share with them information on how they can get their team to use their existing CRM. What I'm trying to do is just share content and position myself as the domain expert. Next, let's say a week later, I'll want to send out another email message. And it'll say something like this: getting salespeople to use a CRM. And maybe you'll say, here's a data point. The number one reason for non-usage is fill in the blank. And then here's how you can change that. And then you send them some more information. Notice I'm just trying to pique their curiosity by letting them know, hey, here's how we get people to use our CRM. Here's what's different about ours that maybe you don't have in your system today. Whatever it may be, develop messages that you can send after the first 30 days. My biggest pet peeve is when people try to sell me right away. They connect and they try to sell. I'm saying connect, engage, empathize, educate, and then the last step would be to encourage them to actually connect with you via video or a phone call. But notice it's all about establishing a relationship. Now, every industry is different, but I think 30 days is a safe period for you to actually begin this process of connecting, engaging, liking, sharing, commenting before you reach out after 30 days with your messages in terms of trying to get them to engage with you via messages, right? With the end result being, hey, encourage them to get online with you like this video call or a phone call. So again, walk through it slowly. Don't rush into the sale. Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, as we say in selling, right? Slow down. Try to get a relationship going. Don't try to sell to 100 people. Maybe try to find the top 10, 20, 30, whatever your number is, of people you want to connect with, and then slowly approach them with this strategy. Now, what's great about this is that once you figure out your messages, what messaging you want to send, let's say you come up with a cadence of 3 or 4 different messages that you want to send. So after 30 days, week 1, you may want to send first headline, first data point, first piece of insight. Then you can wait another week, still engage with them online, and then send them another message. And again, maybe by the 3rd or 4th one, you're going to have to feel that out. You decide to say, hey, let's get on a phone call and just talk about what you have and what we have to offer, no commitment, so forth and so on. But at least when you ask like that, there's a relationship, a virtual relationship already, and maybe they're more likely to want to connect than not, as opposed to just jumping in and saying, hey, want to connect? Can I sell you something? Anyway, let me know what you think of this. Let's talk sales. I think it's an interesting proposition because too often today, we're trying to get the quick sale. And in many cases, we have to, again, slow down to speed up to try to really connect with people, be empathetic, educate them, begin to share with them. But remember, people like when you like their stuff. People like when you comment sincerely and with thought on their, make a comment on their postings or articles. Again, sharing, liking, commenting, these are the things people are looking for. So give me your thoughts on what you do to engage. Do you have a similar formula? Do you have a similar cadence? I want to know how you do it. Anyway, that's it for this Let's Talk Sales. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, sell it ain't hard when you know how. Take care.